Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you here on this Wednesday. Sorry for no Frida. I'm not over on the couch, but it's not just that. It's that she's not wandering around. She's sound asleep. So I've got a few packages here. We'll just go through them and see if there's anything that really interests, if there's anything that causes Steve to squeal. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, this is certainly not going to cause Steve to squeal. What on earth is this? Okay. This comes out in early September. This is by Ryan O'Callaghan, and it is called My Life on the Line. And this is a finished copy. This has deckled edges and French flaps, so this is going to be probably $17 or $18 in early September. And the subtitle is How the NFL Damn Near Killed Me and Ended Up Saving My Life. So an unconventional football memoir. The publisher says that they are proud to be sharing Ryan O'Callaghan's remarkable story. As a closeted football player from a conservative area, he was unable to fathom a world in which he could live and be supported as an openly gay man. His life plan was to play football as long as he could, and when his career was over, die by suicide. Oh my God. Oh my God. His football career at UC Berkeley as a Patriot blocking for Tom Brady and as a right tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. In this book, he looks at his gradual acceptance of himself against the backdrop of his career as a professional football player, contrasting the physical toll from the sport with the mental and emotional toll of keeping his identity a secret. Oh my. Oh my. Okay. I hope you will consider featuring Ryan O'Callaghan in the Boston launch with a review, interview, or enhanced event listing. You know, I might like to interview this guy. That sounds fascinating. Wow, okay. I wondered why he was wearing a Patriots uniform. Okay, I'm obviously not a sports fan. I don't know these things at all. I know Tom Brady because, he made the news for cheating. But I don't know anything about it other than that. But that's fascinating. That's a fascinating story. Okay, so this comes out September 3rd. Wow, okay. All right, that's a great start. An unusual start for me. So let's see what this next one is. It's not a squealing start because I don't know anything about the subject, but still, that's one of the things I love about my job. Is that I get these things that I'm... Okay, what is this? This is from Farrar, Straus and Giroux, and this is a 2020 book. And this is it's by Andy Davidson, and it's called The Boatman's Daughter. That is what it looks like, The Boatman's Daughter. And it centers on Miranda Crabtree, whose father's mysterious death in her childhood marks the beginning of a life touched by the supernatural. This novel reads like an inverted fairy tale in which the heroine requires no protection, and it is the town rather than the witch to watch out for. Now older, Miranda is self-sufficient, alert, and suspicious of others. For her, the witch and the secret child she is protecting are the closest thing she has to family since her father was killed. Miranda maintains her precarious lifestyle by transporting contraband for a mad preacher and his followers, but dark forces are closing in on the bayou. Wow, okay, so Andy Davidson's debut novel, In the Valley of the Sun, was shortlisted for the Bram Stoker Award. And he holds an MFA from the University of Mississippi. So is this his second book? Is this going to be his second book? Yes, this is his second book, The Boatman's Daughter. The Bayou probably means it's going to take place in the American South. Okay, great. Fantastic. So sort of new wave horror. Okay, this comes out in February of 2020. Interesting. Okay. All right, let's move on here. Let's move on to this next one. What do we have here? Oh, okay. I think we saw this already. This is the finished copy. Very nice finished copy. This is from Amazon, I believe. I think that's what this was. Yes, this is from Little A Amazon. One of their many publishing imprints. This is How Fires End by Marco Rafalá. Translated? Translated? Is this? Oh, God, look at all the blurbs. Jeez Louise. Is this translated? No, this is not translated. So who is Marco Rafalá? Is a first-generation Sicilian-American novelist, musician, and writer for award-winning tabletop role-playing games. Wow. He earned his MFA from the New School. And he lives in Brooklyn, of course. And How Fires End is his debut. Oh, wow, this is his debut. Okay, I vaguely remember this. Let's go through it again. This book chronicles the long legacy of a single act of violence, illustrating along the way the complicated dynamics of familial bonds, the devastating effect of war on childhoods, and the inextricable nature of personal and political identities. Inciting all of the action that is the moment in August 1943 when Salvatore, age 9, is sent to find his twin brothers. What he discovers would, from afar, appear to be an idyllic scene, his younger brothers playing joyfully in their father's almond orchard, sitting in a clearing among the trees, in a hillside Sicilian village recently liberated by Allied forces. But Salvatore recognizes the grim nature of their toy. It's an unexploded shell. As he calls out to warn the boys, a terrific flash envelops them. Salvatore bears witness to his brother's cruel deaths and then to the equally haunting reactions of his parents as they discover their children's broken bodies. Good Lord. Okay. I don't actually closely remember that description. This is going to be soon, right? This is going to be, yeah, this is mid-October. Okay, so I'm amazed that it's not a September book, but I think I have the advanced copy and I haven't got to it, so that sounds intriguing. As a debut novel, that sounds it's going to take a lot more chances than a lot of debut novels do. Oh, somebody has woken up. Oh, all right, very good. This is a September book, of course. This is by, I think we might have seen this already. This is by David Spiegelhalter, and this is The Art of Statistics, How to Learn from Data. Statistics are everywhere. In our age of big data, large and complex sets of data are used for everything from traffic monitoring to online advertising to cutting-edge research in biomedical and social sciences. Meanwhile, the popular media bombards us with slews of statistics, often taken out of context. Always taken out of context, I should say. As world-renowned statistician David Spiegelhalter argues, the rise of data science means that a grasp of statistical literacy is more important now than ever. I probably believe that. That's probably true. That seems to be the world that we're increasingly living in, especially as we give more and more of it over to algorithms. In place of a standard introductory statistics course, which are too focused on memorizing tools to be applied to data that has already been extracted, Spiegelhalter emphasizes the importance of clarifying questions, assumptions, and expectations at the outset, identifying the data that might help, and then knowing how to responsibly interpret results. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Well, I think this is a double, but it's due in the first few days of September, and it's obviously part of my September pile. I have a huge September pile that I am now conscientiously working on, and this is one of them. So, and then we have one last book. This is our, what's the matter, baby? Oh, God. Oh, she had an itch. So let's see what this next one is. What is this? Oh, it's got notes in it. What is this? Do we have a note? A note? Hope you enjoy reading this and feel able to write a review. Let's see. All right. Okay, the author contacted me about this. No pub sheet, but we can still talk about it a bit. And this is from Routledge Press, but I want to stress the author contacted me to do this. It wasn't Routledge that did it, and I didn't know. I haven't got a catalog from Routledge in a while, so the author took the initiative to make sure that I knew about this book. And I want to stress for the rest of you, especially you indie authors out there, that you should do the same thing if you feel like it. Because as you know, if you watch this channel, you might not get a review, but you are going to get your book held up and shown to, however many people watch this video, and this video is going to be here for a while. You're going to see, your book is going to be shown to an audience that's composed of active, very energetic, and often very adventurous readers. And I might have a little initial snark depending on what you do or do not do to displease me. But my viewers, we've been doing this for years and years now. They know that my initial snark is certainly not going to be my final judgment in any way. Not in any way. I might pick or peck at the weaknesses of your book's presentation, but then I will read it. And people who've been watching these thousands and thousands of videos will know very often a book that gave me a bad, snarky first impression will go on to be something that I will end up recommending. So it can't hurt if you've got a copy of your book. Feel free to send it to me. But this is from Routledge, so this is not exactly self-published. This is by Barry Clarke, and it is called Francis Bacon's Contributions to Shakespeare, a New Attribution Method. And this is from the Routledge Studies in Shakespeare. And the cover is very simple. It's not ugly. It's just very simple. It's nodes connected, which makes sense in terms of the book. So I don't have a sheet, so I'm just going to read you inside the book. A paradigm shift is advocated away from single author theory of the Shakespeare work towards a many hands theory. Here, the middle ground is adopted between competing so-called Stratfordian and alternative single author theories. In the process, arguments are advanced as to why Shakespeare's first folio presents an unreliable document for attribution and why contemporary opinion characterized Shakespeare of Stratford as an opportunist businessman who acquired the work of others. So that the opening here, the author is saying that this book is an alternative to single author theories. But in the writing of this blurb at the beginning of the book, Shakespeare's name is hyphenated. Ordinarily, as I know, I have spent much time fellow traveling with Shakespeare conspiracy theorists, and I know for a fact that one thing that gives them all away, they don't agree on the time of day, even between the different schools, but the one thing they will do is refuse to write Shakespeare's name in an ordinary way. In the ordinarily accepted orthography, they refuse to do that. They will put quotes over it, they will misspell it, they will put a hyphen in it. So I wonder if deep down inside our author here doesn't believe that William Shakespeare wrote his plays, but maybe that's the whole point. It seems to be that he's not so much tilting against fake authorship as that the idea of single author production of plays in the Elizabethan era is probably fundamentally wrong. And that's interesting. What have we got here? In the process, arguments are advanced as to why Shakespeare... Oh, okay, we already did that. I'm lost without a pub sheet. The limitations of current methods of authorship attribution are highlighted, and an entirely new rare collection profiling method is introduced, which, unlike current stylometric methods, is capable of detecting multiple contributors to a text. Using the Early English Books Online database, rich phrases and collocations in a target text are identified together with the authors who use them. This allows a DNA-type profile to be constructed for the possible contributions to a text that also takes into account direction of influence. This book is nudging its way to the top of my pile. The method's facility to identify multiple hands bring powerful new evidence to bear on crucial questions, such as the author of The Groatsworth of Wit, the contributors to Henry VI, Part 3, the extent of Francis Bacon's contributions to Twelfth Night and The Tempest, and the scheduling of Love's Labour's Lost as the 1594-95 Gray's Inn Christmas Revels, for which Bacon wrote entertainments. That's the Christmas Revels there are a lodestar for Shakespearean authorship controversy people because Bacon was involved, and we know that Shakespeare's play was involved in. Bacon has sort of fallen out of favor as the number one choice for a single author other than William Shakespeare of Stratford-on-Avon. That is now the Earl of Oxford, but for a long time Bacon was by far the most popular choice. Let's see here. The treatise, which I'm holding in my hand, also provides detailed analyses of the nature of the complaint against Shakespeare in a Groatsworth letter, the identity of the players who performed the Comedy of Errors at Gray's Inn in 1594, and the reason why Shakespeare could not have had access to Virginia colony information that appears in The Tempest, which an insider such as Bacon was privy to. The account in the Virginia colony papers, the account of a shipwreck, looks like the basis for the shipwreck in The Tempest. And this author is saying that Shakespeare, William Shakespeare of Stratford-on-Avon, the grain merchant, couldn't have had access to that. It's not just that he had access to it, but did he have the artistic ability to make it a great play? It's that he couldn't have known about it. So this book has, the book has a foreword by Mark Rylance, who's one of the greatest actors alive today and one of the foremost proponents of the fact that somebody other than Shakespeare wrote the plays of Shakespeare. So this may not be a Shakespearean authorship controversy as such, just specifically, but it sure is flirting with them. It hyphenates Shakespeare's name, it invokes Shakespeare of Stratford-on-Avon, and it's got a foreword by Mark Rylance, who maybe didn't understand the full nature of what's going on here. I think that the program that's being proposed, just in that, I haven't read the book, of course I haven't even dipped into it, but I think the program that's being proposed there in that description that we shouldn't be looking for an alternate guy who wrote the plays of Shakespeare. Instead, we should be looking at collaboration, which was a huge working modus operandi. In Elizabethan and early Jacobean years, it was a hugely normal thing for many hands to be involved in the writing of a play that would end up then being printed in something like the First Folio. And that if you look at those plays and you see those stylistic inconsistencies, or you take that whole stylistic world and you try to map it onto someone like William Shakespeare, Stratford and Avon, who, as far as we know, had no education and never traveled out of England. I mean, Mark Twain pointed that out 200 years ago. It's still true. As far as we know, he didn't have anything like the education that he needed to write the plays that he wrote. If you take the educational world, the reference and allusional world of those plays, and you try to map them onto that guy, then you run into trouble. If you then say, okay, well then it can't have been him, you take that world and you try to map it onto Christopher Marlowe, you run into trouble. You go to the Earl of Oxford, you run into trouble. The dates are wrong on almost all of these people. And a theory like this opens up whole new possibilities, which is that not only might Bacon or the Earl of Oxford or Marlowe or even Shakespeare have been involved, but they might all have been involved. And that maybe the wrong thing here isn't picking the wrong candidate, it's assuming that there is one candidate. That is fascinating to me. Can't wait to see what the author does with it. So I don't know that we would call this a Shakespearean authorship controversy book, like the ones that I've shown you on this channel many, many times. I made a video for a ShakeTube 1 year about whether or not Shakespeare was Shakespeare, whether or not he wrote the plays of Shakespeare, and there was a great response video too. If you didn't see it, I will try to find that response video and link it down below. I forget, right off the top of my head, I forget the name of the booktuber who did it, but it was great. He just takes me behind the school and just goes at every point I made. It's just fantastic. You can decide for yourself, but I'll try and remember to find that video. But as you know, I have a sweet tooth for conspiracy theories, and it doesn't get much more explosive in the world of books than whether or not Shakespeare wrote the plays of Shakespeare. And it looks like this might be a way out for everybody. that maybe everybody had a hand in these things. And that's why the stylometrics are so confusing. Can't wait. Can't wait. The one thing I don't know, because the author just had a copy of this sent to me from Amazon. The one thing I don't know, because it doesn't have a pub sheet, is when its pub date is. I don't know its pub date. I guess I must have the author's information somewhere. That's the one thing I should mention. I mentioned if you're an author's you've got a book from Routledge or anywhere else that you're worried that your publisher is not really flogging it in the way that they should. That happens in 2019. That happens more than it ever has. If you've got a book like that from a normal mainstream publisher, or if you're an indie publisher, again, I want to stress: feel free to send me your work. You will at least see it shown to my readers and discussed on this channel. If you go back and see the examples where that has happened, you will see in the comments field many people saying, that sounds really interesting to me. I think I will order that. It can't hurt, is what I'm saying. It can't hurt at all, especially if your publisher is kind of dogging it when it comes to publicizing your work themselves. But there are two things that you have to keep in mind. One is that if your book is manifestly absurd, I'm going to kick it around a little before I settle down and read it. Everybody that's watching this channel knows that if I consider your book manifestly absurd in my first reading as I pull it out of the container, that has no long-term relationship on what I might think about it down the line. It just means that I have a little red meat in front of me, that's all. I've been very lucky. Most of the books like this that I've got in the mail, from small publishers, from registered publishers where the author wants to send it to me anyway, or from self-published authors, most of them have seemed legitimately good. Which underscores my contention that the mainstream publishing world is missing a lot of great books, just due to volume and lack of personnel, or even a bit of snobbery, or maybe all three. But the two things that, if you are in that position as an author, the two things that you have to keep in mind is, one, your book may get a little rough handling right out of the bag. If your book serves me up the chance for a Shecky Green style one-liner, I'm not going to pass it up just to solve your feelings. I will then pay serious attention to your book, but there's that. That's one thing that you have to worry about, or think about anyway. If your publishing works out into the world, you should have your big boy pants on. You should be able to take a little ribbing, especially since it's friendly. We're all friendly towards books here on BookTube and on this channel. And the second thing is that despite the fact that I'm a 28-year-old with wavy hair and 32-inch dancer's hips and washboard abs and bee-sting lips. I do get a little forgetful now and then. And also I'm bombarded with emails from publishers, publicists, authors, all day long, every day. So it may be that, as in this position, it may be that I am talking about your book on camera and I don't remember you at all. We'll have to go back in my email and try and find you. That may happen. Though either of those things may happen. But then I will hunker down with your book. And I'm assuming that this is... the Routledge series, Studies in Shakespeare, isn't all that old. I'm assuming this is not an old book. Actually, this will have publication information, won't it? Won't it? 2019. Okay, so this is 2019. I don't know when in 2019, but... Okay, so there we go. So that is our mail for today. So we have The Art of Statistics, and we also have a book that relies very heavily on statistics, which is Francis Bacon's Contributions to Shakespeare. Once again, I want to stress to everyone anywhere in the publishing world, my services to title your book are available 24 hours a day for free. Francis Bacon's Contributions to Shakespeare, an alternative method, an attribution method, is the subtitle of your book. That is the subtitle of your book. Your book actually has a title. Guaranteed it's somewhere in this book. I'm happy to find that title for you if you get me early enough. And then How Fires End, by Marco Rafalá, this is a debut novel, a fairly brutal sounding one. Then we have The Boatman's Daughter, which sounds like new horror, a kind of horror. And the first book that we came across was My Life on the Line, about a professional football player who is gay, and who was under the impression for a long time that he would just play football until his body gave out, and then he would kill himself. Amazing. So I can't wait to read it, even though it's not my subject area at all. So a good mail haul, in other words. Very interesting. No glimpse of the bean, although you did hear. But maybe we'll both be back later on. So I will wrap this up for now, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.